Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 25th of July, now it's almost 10 o'clock in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update today, in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. Second update will be a little bit late in the afternoon on my Patreon page, in which I will share additional news that will be reported by Russian media, and also I will try to answer to some questions that I will see in comment section, as I usually do on updates for Patreon. And by the way, I do on that platform extra content on regular basis in attempt to generate additional interest among members of our community, and I will be immensely grateful if you will consider to join my Patreon. You will see a link under this video in the description box or in the pinned comment. That's been said, let's talk about news now, and I will start with Ukraine and special military operation. And first of all, of course, quick summary of the situation on the front line. So overall situation I will characterize as a stalemate or operational pause all along the front. But if we will go sector by sector, then Kherson region, it's mainly artillery duels between the sides and recon operations. We did have report that forces that are still loyal to Zelensky did try to conduct some recon operation in direction of one of the islands in the Dnieper Delta. And as you can see here, by the way, it's plenty of islands in Delta of Dnieper. And according to Russian sources, 2 speedboats of Ukrainian armed forces were destroyed, and almost entire platoon of Ukrainian soldiers were neutralized. Yet again, we do see that time after time Zelensky's regime is sending more and more troops on the left bank in attempt to create some bridgeheads. And yesterday I did see some reports on a Russian segment of internet where Ukrainian forces that are located in Kherson region, on the right bank of the Kherson region, which is under control of Zelensky's regime, were complaining that they were sent on the left bank in the suicidal operations. So, as I did predict quite a few times before, we are closing in to the point, to the breaking point of Ukrainian armed forces, because almost on daily basis nowadays we are hearing reports about disobedience or internal turmoil in Ukrainian armed forces. But when it comes to overall situation on Kherson region, it's operational pause and mainly artillery duels and recon operations. When it comes to Zaporozhye and South Donetsk sector of the front line on this land bridge between Crimea and mainland Russia, it's still nowhere to be seen that second wave of counteroffensive that almost everybody is talking about nowadays. But of course, local scale fierce battles do take place between the sides, and in recent days we did see yet again these frontal suicidal attacks from Ukrainian armed forces on Russian positions, especially in direction of Rabotina, on the south of Orekhov city. And on my Telegram channel I did share many video and photo materials with destroyed Ukrainian armed groups, including Leopard 2 main battle tanks and Bradley armored personnel carriers. And this morning on some Russian Telegram channels were reported that during previous 24 to 48 hours Zelensky's regime just in Orekhov direction lost up to 7 Leopard 2 tanks and more than 10 Bradley armored personnel carriers. But yet again, we should always take with pinch of salt news that we are receiving from anyone's side, really, and just wait for additional confirmations of information. But yet again, On my Telegram channel, I did share so many videos of destruction of Leopard tanks, Bradley armored personal carriers that, well, number maybe even much higher than 7 Leopards or 10 Bradleys, and probably it is higher. And I believe today or maybe in next couple of days, Russian Defense Ministry will probably share with us detailed information about latest battles in direction of Rabotina here, and probably we will learn much more about losses that Ukrainian forces did had in that direction. When it comes to South Donetsk sector, mainly activities are taking place on this bridgehead that Russia holds between Ugledar and Gulay Pole, so-called Vremensky Ledge. That's main hot point, but it's still operational pause, and local skirmishes are not really influencing overall situation. When it comes to Donetsk direction, it's almost the similar story. Fierce fighting have taken place in usual hot points: Marinka, Krasnogorovka, Avdeevka. There are some reports that Russian forces even had some breakthrough in Avdeevka direction, but yet again, I believe we do need some additional news to say that some breakthrough did happen in Avdeevka direction. But overall, I will call situation in Donetsk sector also as a operational pause, because these local level skirmishes, even though Russian forces are managing to improve their positions little by little, almost on daily basis, still this local clash is not really influencing overall situation on this sector of the front. We do have some different situation in direction of Bakhmut or Artyomovsk. Yesterday afternoon, more and more reports did come from different sources that Zelensky's regime yet again sent additional forces in direction of Klishchevka on the southern flank of Bakhmut, and some fierce fighting were taking place in this direction. And there are many videos that are circulating on the front line, graphic videos with truly fierce battles between the sides. I cannot share those videos even on my Telegram because it's just too graphic, but well, according to latest news that we have, as a result of this wave after wave attacks from Ukrainian forces, they did manage to improve their positions in Klishchevka direction, and some reports even suggesting that forward units of Ukrainian forces already are on outskirts of Klishchevka, or even in Klishchevka itself. But yet again, we need some more time and information to know for sure situation in this sector of the front. But it's it seems like Zelensky's regime is determined to take control, establish control over the Klishchevka by any means, and they are basically sacrificing hundreds and hundreds of Ukrainian soldiers for this settlement, which does have strategic meaning, of course. But yet again, I believe Ukrainian forces are paying too high price for this little success that they have in direction of Klishchevka. But at least for now, we can say that this settlement is still under Russian control. Situation is a little bit different on the northern flank of Bakhmut, where it's Russian forces that are trying to improve their positions. They are conducting recon in force operations, and I believe it will be very difficult for Ukrainian forces to regain initiative in the on the northern flank of Bakhmut. In internet there are many rumors nowadays, and including about Ukrainian forces entering Bakhmut itself, which is false. I did not see any photo or video confirmation of this information. So well, until then, until we will see some proof that Ukrainian forces did enter Bakhmut, I will not believe that this is the case. But what we can say is that yes, Ukrainian forces after many weeks of fierce fighting now did manage to improve their positions a little bit in Klishchevka direction. In the northern sector, it's Russian forces that are more active, and when it comes to northern sectors of the front itself, from Seversk and Liman to Kupiansk, it's Russian forces that are conducting constantly offensive operations, and in some places Russian forces did manage to move forward for quite a few kilometers. And my understanding of the situation is that Russian grouping of forces in the north sectors of the front are just waiting for a green light to conduct a large-scale offensive operation, because at this point, at this stage, I believe they are ready to do so. Because lately, I mean, last 2-3 weeks at least, we are constantly receiving news about local scale successes of Russian forces, and of course these successful local scale operations are mounting in a significant improvement of Russian bridgeheads and Russian positions overall on the sector of the front. But yet again, when these Russian forces will receive green light to conduct large-scale operation, it's only few people know probably in Russian general staff and the Kremlin. And this is overall, I mean, quick summary of the situation on the front line. As I said, it's mainly operational pause or stalemate. But of course, there are some hot points where extremely fierce battles are taking place. Now let's talk about some other news, and RIA Novosti is reporting here that yes, exactly the information that I did share just a minute ago, that Ukrainian armed forces are very active in the direction of Klishchevka, and according to RIA Novosti sources, Ukrainian forces actively using cluster munition in direction of this settlement. It was expected that Ukrainian forces will begin actively use cluster munition all main directions of the front, and we did see quite a few reports now that in southern sectors of the front, in central sectors of the front, cluster munition have been used by Ukrainian forces, and I guess now it's only a matter of time when Russian side will respond exactly the same way, and Russian forces will start to use cluster munition. Now let's talk about some other news, and TASS news agency is reporting that, well, that's quite interesting. Governor of Zaporozhye region, Evgeny Balitsky, did made statement during the interview on Russian TV channel Russia 24 that Ukrainian forces in Zaporozhye sector of the front line are beginning to surrender with not just individually, like 1 or 2 soldiers, but entire units now are surrendering. And according to Beletsky, there was no instance when, let's say, entire company did surrender, but there are many instances now when platoons, full-blooded platoons are surrendering. And yet again, these statements from Balitsky definitely confirms my predictions that Ukrainian forces are on the verge of breakdown. And that's how we can explain increase in instances when Ukrainian forces are surrendering. And yesterday I did share, for example, on my Telegram channel, one of that kind of instances when a small group of Ukrainian forces did make right decision, save their lives, and surrender to Russian fighters. Let me continue now, and this is also TASS news agency's report, according to which, well, I did report about it also. Russian armed forces did manage to neutralize Ukrainian DRG or sabotage group in Kherson region when they were trying to establish positions on island of Antonovsky in the Dnieper Delta, And according to TASS news agency, few speedboats were destroyed, Ukrainian speedboats, and platoon, entire group of Ukrainian soldiers were neutralized. Well, we are on daily basis basically are receiving information that Ukrainian soldiers are constantly have been sent in direction of left bank, in direction of those small islands on in delta of Dnieper River, and well, because they don't really have any success, it does generates immense, I guess, immense psychological pressure on Ukrainian forces that are located on the right bank of the Dnieper River in Kherson region, and that's why there are reports now coming in that many units of Ukrainian forces and even video footage have been circulating on internet when Ukrainian forces from Kherson region are complaining and basically disobeying orders. They don't want to participate in suicidal operations. Let me continue now, and this is quite interesting news. Defense Minister of Ukraine, Alexei Reznikov, openly stated that Ukraine will continue to strike Crimean bridge or Kerch bridge, and well, I believe this is maybe first time when a high-ranking Ukrainian official is openly stating that or openly acknowledging that it's Zelensky's regime that are behind all those strikes on Crimean bridge, which is we of course knew that that's the case, but well, it's because Russian side is characterizing those strikes as an act of terrorism. I guess Zelensky's regime was trying to at least officially distance themselves from those strikes, but seems like they don't really care no more, and they are openly now confirming that it's them that are conducting those terrorist attacks on Crimean bridge, which is, by the way, according to TASS news agency, even Reznikov, defense minister of Ukraine, did acknowledge that that bridge is not used by Russian militaries. Which is true, by the way. Bridge that was targeted just a couple of weeks ago, that highway is not used by Russian militaries, because if Russian forces want to deploy some additional manpower or military equipment to Crimea, they can use transport ships, landing ships, they can use airplanes, they can use, after all, they can use railway segment of the Crimean bridge, but not a highway, because it's just not convenient really enough. So even Zaluzhny is recognizing that that segment of the bridge that was struck is not used by Russian military, but yet again they don't care. They just don't care no more. And this will continue, unfortunately, as long as Zelensky and his associates are receiving support from Western elites, no matter what kind of crime they're gonna commit. They're still receiving full support from Western elites, which is unbelievable, but that's the case. Let me continue. RIA Novosti, and which is unbelievable because it was always the so-called Western elite that were talking about some human rights and you know, rules and so on, and now they are basically supporting regime which does not give a you know, which just don't care about human rights, any rules or any laws. They just don't care, and Western elites are quite comfortable to support such individuals that are running and ruining Ukraine. Let me continue now, and well, we have news that Washington, Biden's administration did make decision to send to Zelensky's regime yet another package of military aid. This time it's $400 million worth of military equipment, and among those military deliveries will be 32 armored personnel carriers Stryker. Also some ammunition shells, some missiles for air defense systems, HIMARS multi-launch rocket systems, and so on. But what is interesting, Pentagon will send, what is also interesting, they will send 32 Stryker armored personnel carriers, and I guess in coming weeks we will see new footages from front lines with destroyed Strykers, because there are not that many Bradleys left in hands of Zelensky's regime. So they will start using Strykers actively, I guess, and well, Russian artillery and Russian drones and Russian soldiers that are operating with the ITGM systems will have a good hunt on those APCs. Let me continue now, and RIA Novosti is reporting that, well, this is quite interesting. According to Russian Foreign Ministry, Russian side did invite in St. Petersburg in that summit Russia-Africa that will take place on 27th, 28th of July. All the leaders of African nations, and even though many leaders already stated that they will participate in this conference and this summit, some states may send official delegations which will be represented by foreign ministers or some other high-ranking officials, but not the first, not the presidents or prime ministers. And according to Russian Foreign Ministry, Moscow will take such steps with understanding, because of course Western elites are trying to push pressure to put pressure on African nations, and not all of them are unfortunately in position when they can easily reboot that pressure or easily ignore Western demands. But anyway, just recently I did report that 49 delegations will participate in this conference, in this summit, Russia-Africa, and almost half of the delegations will be represented by high-ranking officials, including presidents and prime ministers of African nations. So despite all the attempts of Washington, London, Paris, and other capitals in the Western world to somehow derail this summit, they were unsuccessful, and I believe relationships between Russia and African nations will become even better after this summit will take place. But by the way, relationships between Russia and the majority of African states already are in very friendly terms, and that's a tradition really that has its roots in Soviet era times, because Soviet Union was an active supporter of independent movements in African states, and they do remember this, and they want in Africa to have good friendly relationships with Russian Federation. So let me continue now, and this is quite interesting news. Also, RIA Novosti is reporting that during the previous 24 hours, U.S. coalition in Syria 15 times broke the rules of de-escalation between Russian forces, Syrian forces, and forces of this U.S. coalition. And by the way, we not that often see this kind of information on Russian state media outlets, and if Russian media, state-run media, by the way, pays attention to these topics, I believe this is done on purpose, and maybe in coming weeks, this topic of illegal activity of US coalition in Syria will become much discussed in Russia, in Russian media, and then we may see some activities on the ground against bases that are used by US and its allies in Syria. So that's a possibility. That's why I wanted to share this information, because I believe something is in preparation, and I don't think anyone should be surprised by this, because Washington is constantly escalating with Moscow, constantly escalating, and of course it's only a matter of time while Russia will begin to respond with heavy hand. And well, one of the directions where Moscow directly or indirectly, most probably indirectly, will respond will be probably Syria. Let me continue now, and well, TASS news agency is reporting that Russian foreign ministry did make statement that it's impossible to renew grain deal without Moscow's participation, which is obvious, of course, but Russian foreign ministry are forced to make such statements because Zelensky's regime and its allies in the Western world, in Western elites, are almost on daily basis speculating on possibility to renew grain deal without Russian participation. And well, Moscow did make its step, and Moscow did said that any ship that will try to enter Ukrainian ports or leave Ukrainian ports will be received as a legitimate military target. And well, I don't think Western elites are that stupid really to provoke direct confrontation with Russia, but they may try to conduct some provocation with transport ships that will try to enter Ukrainian ports or leave Ukrainian ports. Provocation can happen and probably will happen. So, well, Moscow, just to stay on safe side, once again making statements and warning all sides to stay away from area that is actively used or are actively involved in military operations. So what clear warning Moscow can send? I mean, and by the way, what is very important, Russian high-ranking Russian officials did made many times statements that despite the fact that grain deal is working no more, Moscow will deliver grain and fertilizers and all the necessary goods to countries in need, including in Africa, by its own anyway. So Western elites will not have, they may try to use this topic to somehow demonize Russia, but in reality Russia will support countries in need anyway, and some countries will receive goods from Russia for free. That's how Moscow gonna respond to it. And by the way, these steps from Moscow are also based on great relationships between African nations and Russia. And that's just a historical tradition, I will say. And well, I believe upcoming summit in St. Petersburg, Russia, Africa will be big success, and well, Africa holds a great future, and you know, Russia, of course, have to be part of it, and well, not just Russia, but China, Brazil, together with South Africa, and India, of course, will definitely be a good friend of African states, and Western countries, US, UK, France. I believe that they will have some difficult times to remain in African continent, because no one wants them there, really. That's the simple truth. No one wants them there. And that's also based on history, this colonial history of Western states, when they basically destroy and rob tens and tens of nations in African continent for centuries. Let me continue now, and this is also very interesting news. RT is reporting that new arrest warrant have been issued for ex-Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan, and Imran Khan is I believe a very popular politician in Pakistan, and during previous attempt or even arrest of Imran Khan, we did see some disturbances in Pakistan, and if current government of this state will try to arrest Imran Khan again, then I guess we will see exactly the same picture. Supporters of former Prime Minister will definitely try to defend Imran Khan. And by the way, I believe we are watching a struggle between the US and China on Pakistani soil right now, because during the reign of Imran Khan, relationships between China and Pakistan become reach strategic levels, and now in charge are mainly militaries, directly or indirectly, and Pakistan's military always had quite significant ties with US, and let's see. But I believe China also has its influence, including on secret services of Pakistan and militaries. And one of the factors of Chinese influence is, of course, difficult relationships between Pakistan and India. And I would not say that US has 100% grip on Pakistan. I believe China may quite successfully neutralize US influence in this state over time, not in a day or two, but in coming years, in 5, 10, 15 years time. I believe US will have no influence over the Pakistan whatsoever. That's what's gonna happen, in my opinion. Let me continue now, and TASS news agency is reporting about statements that Russian finance minister Anton Siluanov did made about federal budget, and he said that in 2023 deficit of Russian federal budget will reach up to 2.5% of GDP, which is a big number, Russia does have up to $500 billion in golden reserves and other commodities, and Russia can afford such a deficit, definitely, but number is truly quite big. And Siluanov also said that towards 2025 deficit will decrease up to 0.7% of GDP. So I guess some plans already are in work to increase income for a federal budget, and well, towards 2025, 2027, Russian budget may become proficital again when budget has more income than it spends, which is preferable situation, of course. But for now, for this year, deficit will be 2.5% of GDP, which is well, big number. Not for US and not for those countries that have a foreign debt, for example, over 100% of their GDPs. But for Russia, 2.5% is quite significant number, I believe. And but yet again, Russia can cope with this pressure for sure. You know, central bank does has enough reserves to cover that deficit. That deficit. And by the way, a few more news. How long is this update? 36 minutes. Few more news, and this is it for today's first update. TASS News agency is reporting that you, of course, probably are familiar with this news that Twitter will be called tweets on the Twitter will be called X's from in the future, and icon of Twitter will also have been changed. It's like X now. And Elon Musk did make statement that Twitter was a good name and adequate name in the past, when Twitter was only a platform for short messages. But now Twitter is becoming much bigger social network, and now you can even upload videos for hours and hours. And because of it, the name has to be adopted, and well, Twitter will become X and tweets will become X's. And by the way, Elon Musk is once again richest man in this on this planet. That's also news that I read this morning. So yes, I'm not really active on Twitter, but probably I will try to activate my account there sometime in the future. Why not? And by the way, I hope Elon Musk will invest in Rumble. I truly hope Elon Musk will invest in Rumble, because world needs alternative and proper competition with YouTube. And there are some rumors that Elon Musk may invest in Rumble, which will be, I believe, great deal for many users of video hosting platforms. TASS News agency is also reporting that Putin did sign a law about digital currency, digital ruble, which is a very controversial topic all around the world, really. And I believe Russia is one of the first states where currency will be digitized. And we are not talking about some cryptocurrency. This digital ruble will be just ordinary ruble, and full control over the transactions of that digital ruble will be in hands of central bank. But yet again, as I said, this topic is very controversial, and many people, including experts, are saying that this move in direction of digitized currencies are being made to increase control over the population of this planet, which may be the case. I don't know, but well, Russia is definitely leading this move in direction of digitizing currencies. And also interesting news, RT is reporting that Goldman Sachs, this big name in financial and banking system, are predicting all-time high oil demand And to be honest, I was surprised when I see this information, because numbers that are coming from China, for example, are not that great really this year. And I mean, how this high demand on oil gonna be generated, it's not really understandable. Goldman Sachs is operating on operating in terms of I mean, according to Goldman Sachs, one of the reasons for high demand will be uncertainty on oil markets, when many countries are cutting their oil exports to maintain high price on oil. And well, if that's the case, if deficit will, and by the way, Goldman Sachs predicting large deficit of oil on market, and if that's the case, then I guess OPEC plus countries are doing quite a good job to make sure that prices on oil are high enough or acceptable enough for oil producer nations. And well, and by the way, this is definitely good news for Russia anyway, because we like it or not, but Russia is Russian economy still depends on revenues from oil and gas sales, and higher prices on energy better for Russian economy, and eventually for citizens of Russia. So this is Kommersant newspaper, and this is going to be last news for today's update. And according to this information, majority of Russian banks stop accepting let me translate this. These bankomats of majority of Russian banks stop accepting dollars and euros. So almost all almost all Russian banks basically have stopped accepting dollars and the euros through ITMs, through ITM machines. You can still exchange your foreign currency in banks if you want to, but ITMs will no longer, in majority of Russian banks, will no longer accept foreign, I mean, euros and the dollars, which is well, of course it's all everything has, of course it's done because of the sanctions from the West, really. And I'm afraid at some point in the future, Russian banks may just entirely stop accepting or working with dollars and euros, and they will shift their attention towards some other currencies because of the sanctions, really, because of the sanctions. But well, let's see how well situation develop. But at least for now, if you have dollars or euros, you can go by just in any bank here and exchange it without any significant problem. But if at some point Russian banks will be forced to stop their operations with these currencies, then that's a fault of not Russian banks. That's because of this Western elites and their sanctions on Russia, Russian banking systems, and so on. This is it for now. I hope you will find this video interesting. Still 45 minutes. Well, I hope you will find this video interesting, and if so, please hit that like button and leave some commentary about any topic you like. More comments and likes definitely make a difference. And if you can, please share links to my videos or my channel with your friends on Twitter, Facebook, Telegram, or any other platform that you are active on. I will be immensely grateful for your help. And if you think this channel is interesting, informative, useful, and deserves to exist in this field of news and political commentary, please consider to support with small donations through PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You will see links under this video in the description box or in the pinned comment. Have a great day, take care, and see you soon.